Which means I also need to start the recording. And Sophie, you've also started your backup?
I believe so. You didn't get prompted to accept it or anything, right?
I did get prompted. I just wanted to
Okay.
make certain that it was mine, not yours. Okay. We're going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Lunenburg Conservation Commission meeting of May 15th, 2024. We are doing this via Zoom remote. In accordance with the requirements of the open meetings law, be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. The agenda lists all of the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Please be advised, I lost my train there. Please address all comments to the chair. That would be me. This meeting of the Conservation Commission will be held by Zoom at the link provided in the agenda that is posted on the town calendar. And the meeting ID is 909-174-0347. And I would encourage anybody that is watching us via live stream to go to the town calendar, download the agenda, and just click on the link there. It makes it easy to access us via Zoom. And I will start with a roll call vote. Bob Pease is out tonight. Jenny Putherer,
Here, present.
Rich Birch,
Present.
Jeff Viviano,
Present.
Mike LaRouche is also out tonight. Chris St. Germain.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Chris, are you able to actually see the waiting room?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
I'm letting people in. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Very good. Thank you for that. So we will start out with announcements. Do we have any announcements from commissioners? I do have a couple of announcements. There are no others from the commission. We have a really full agenda tonight, so I'm going to have to limit the public comment to 15 minutes. For anyone that does not get their turn or has comments above and beyond the 3 minutes that's allocated, feel free to send those comments, put them in writing, and send them to our administrator, Sophie Doro. And then we can append those comments to the meeting minutes that we distribute and publish. So just be aware, and we will actually be sticking very strictly to the 3 minute allocated time. Also, I'm letting everybody know ahead of time that we've got a time limit on our meetings now. I've been advised by the town manager that our administrator support only lasts until 10 p.m. So unfortunately, that means that at 10 p.m. We will have to continue any meetings that would require our administrator support for recommendations, Q&A, and other commissioner dialogue. And so those could, hoping that that won't affect our continued hearings, but it may very well truncate our ability to support the administrative determinations, COCs, violations, and whatnot. And if we do have to resort to that type of continuance, we would prioritize those things that were bumped to a higher priority in the next meeting. And I'll apologize in advance for anybody that causes a hardship for. So we will move along to public comment. And again, these are limited to 3 minutes, and they need to stay, any public comment needs to stay aligned to a subject matter that's under the direct jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. Anything that's on the agenda, the comment period would be during that hearing, and please address all comments to me, your chair. And I will also just, not everybody is, lives in Zoom like I have to do on a day-to-day basis, right? So there is in your Zoom window, and depending on what system you're coming in from, on the top or the bottom of the window will be a raise hand icon, or also sometimes comes under emotions, right? And if you can raise your hand there, I'll call on you in turn. And if you can't figure out how to raise your hand, but you see other icons, you could certainly use that. If all else fails, you can wave at me or just say, hey, I have a comment and I will call on you in turn. So don't let the technology get in the way of your participation. And so I do see Doug, you have your hand raised. I'll call on you.
Madam Chair, is that the correct way to address?
That works. Thank you.
Okay. Three quick things. I'll keep it under a minute. This is pertaining to a trail that has been created out in the Lane property, or we'll call it the town forest, I guess. Calling the trail the Whalum Roller Coaster Terrain Park, or the ride for short. There's somebody who created a bike trail out there. It's actually pretty cool, I have to say. I know it's violated a few things, but to keep it to the point, there's been a lot of forest that was ripped up for this trail. I don't agree with a quarter of it, but 3/4 of it seems reasonable, and I hope that we do get to keep the trail. I know there's going to be another meeting about this. The only thing I am advocating for is to have some oversight on the creation or thereof. So I know hopefully there's some more meetings in the future. Hopefully I can participate in those, and you certainly have my email address and phone number. Again, I forgot it. I should have mentioned Doug Waters, 80 Horizon Island Road, for the record. Second one was I did meet a new rider out there who does know the person who created that trail, and he seemed to indicate that he was going to invite a whole bunch of people out there, which is kind of interesting. We'll see how many people wind up there, but he also seemed to mention that they were also either in progress or planning or already started similar trails to this in the Little Town Forest and the County lot. So again, I'm just advocating for some oversight here. I really like to promote people on bikes and getting out there as much as possible, but I understand there's got to be a little bit of a process here. And the third point being the Hickory Woods is a neighbor to this trail. It will dump a whole bunch of traffic into the Hickory Woods part of things. We have low usage these days, and to maintain things, we don't usually care too much about who's using them and where bikes are going and stuff like that. But just for the record, we do have two types of trails in Hickory Woods. One is for multi-use, which includes ATVs, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, actual motorized dirt bikes, along with regular bikes, horses, and of course walking and joggers. But the other type of trail is a walking trail, and we may need to start posting things just so that the riders out there know that we do have two types of trails. One is explicitly created just for walking. It is a single path. I know a lot of bike riders love it. We may reassess how things are, but we will, I hope, as a good neighbor, that the rest of the town forest and all the other riders can abide by what we've set up in Hickory Woods as well. That, and as always, leave the leaves, and that's the end of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And thanks for bringing that trail to our attention. I would just add that we do have posted Conservation Commission property trail use regulations, and people are not allowed to go and make changes or add trails or dig or anything without getting permission from the Conservation Commission first. So that's just a general comment for any members of the public out there that are here about trails and whatnot. We do have a really robust volunteer system here in town for support of the conservation lands, and all the maintenance there, all the new trails, everything is put in by volunteers that we do coordinate with them on. Yeah, but definitely, if you see a new trail going in and you have a question, anybody has a question about whether that's been under permission and oversight by the Conservation Commission or not, please let us know, because we do want to ensure the oversight on those concerns. I don't see any other hands raised for public comment. So we will move along, which is very good. Okay, we do have meeting minutes to approve from May 1st. Those were distributed, I believe, on Monday. So I am looking for a motion by commission to accept those.
This is Chris. I motion to accept the minutes of May 1st.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Unanimous approval. Okay, moving along. We don't have any appointment hearings tonight. And before we start anything, any of the hearings, I'd like to ask Sophie if we've had any requests for continuation.
I have continuation, actually. No, I didn't receive any, continuation requests.
Okay,
Excuse
Very
me,
good.
sorry, Madam Chair. John Plifka from McCarty Engineering. There is one project on the continued hearings that I'd like to continue again, if that was possible. I didn't send it in writing previously, but just an effort of saving time. I just wanted to mention that.
yeah, John, which one is that?
So, that is 171 Arbor Street.
Okay,
So we'd like to request a continuance to, the end of June. We are currently working with the ZBA filing. So once we get the green light from them, we're gonna hopefully be back in front of the board with to continue that hearing.
and so when you say the end of June, our second hearing in June is the 19th. Do you want to be heard on the 19th or the 3rd of July?
19th is great. That'd be great.
Okay. Okay, so we have a request for continuance to the 19th of June. Do we have a Matt, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I apologize. That just dawned on me. I didn't ask for a continuance like I usually do for 390 Howard. I'd also like to continue that to June 19th. Chuck Karen, who is going to be addressing Art Allen's concerns, is away on vacation through the end of next week. So I'm going to be meeting with him the week after to go over his schedule for going on that site and conducting his reflagging. So I apologize. I just realized that now when John had mentioned it.
No issues, Matt. Yeah, we'll do that when we'll do your continuance request next.
But it is moving forward. So
Okay, excellent. So going back to 171 Arbor Street, the request for continuance. Do I have a motion by the commission to continue to the 19th of June?
So moved, Richard.
Thank you,
Second.
Rich. And a second by Chris St. Germain. Roll call vote, Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. So continuing 171 Arbor to 619. And then we also have a request for continuation of 390 Howard Street to June 19th. Do I have a motion by the commission to continue as well?
So moved, Rich.
Thank you,
Second.
Rich. Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote, Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. So we have unanimous approval to continue 390 Howard Street to 619. So that moves a few things off of our list. That's good. Okay, thank you for that. Now moving along to new public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on behalf of Colometa Corporation a notice of intent for a project proposal is for construction of duplex with appurtenances within the 100-foot buffer zone of a forested wetland bordering an intermittent stream at 1201 Mass Ave. And so do we have the representatives for Colometa Corporation on the call tonight?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Matt Maurer representing Colometa Corporation. Phil Colometa is also present in case the commission has any questions. If I could share my screen.
Yeah. Please do, Matt. Let me just change that permission to allow you to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you should have permission now.
Okay, so everyone can see now?
Yes.
So essentially 1207 Mass Ave right now is a thinly wooded lot. That of course is currently undeveloped. The notice of intent is for the construction of a duplex. You have Mass Ave proper here. Existing bituminous concrete drive here. This is the proposed area with grading as drawn by Stoddard Engineering, Christopher Stoddard, which, if any of you guys went on the site inspection, the limits were staked out in the field, as well as the limits of the 50-foot buffer zone. Erosion protection is denoted here, which is in front of the 50-foot buffer zone. There is no work proposed within the 50-foot zone, save for anybody that went on site probably noticed there was two large old white oaks that are compromised with X's through them that actually lean in the direction of where the houses are. As they pace off from the back of the root ball, I measured 40 feet from the edge of wet. So they would be basically right in this area right here. There were other trees that had red dots on them. Mr. Colometa had originally, mismeasured the 50-foot zone and was marking the trees in an attempt to try to get the 50-foot zone. Then they went back and did a more specific measurement with the stakes. I have pictures of those trees if the commission wants to go over those. But other than that, the rest of the site is to remain in its current condition. The only other addition to this plan that doesn't show on the plan is on this side of the line right here out of the buffer zone, and partially in the buffer zone, the building envelope. Based on a settlement agreement with an abutter during the zoning board of appeals process, Mr. Colometa has agreed to put in an arborvitae shrub line right at the property line in the developed building section only here. They are actually in the middle of coming to agreement on the type of arborvitaes to be used. And that's basically it. DEP issued a file number. The only comment they had was they wanted a little extra money on the filing fee. I think it was a $50 difference. So it was 25 for the town, 25 for the state. State's check's already been sent in. My client dropped off the $25 to Sophie, I believe, yesterday morning. That's basically it at this point. So open any questions that you guys would have.
Matt, what is the DP number?
DEP number is, I believe it's 1235. Give me a second, I'll look it up. I got it handy. I just didn't have it out.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. It's 208 1325.
1325. Yep, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for interjecting that, Sophie. Sophie, have you been out and done a site visit? Do you have any recommendations for us?
Yeah, I was out on the site. Before Matt kind of gave his spiel on the site, I had some sort of recommendation, but kind of skewed it a little bit as he was speaking. um, I believe that originally I was going to say issue a standard order of conditions, but with the shrub plantings that I don't believe I was aware of. I was aware of the other trees, but wasn't aware of where they are and their relation outside of the erosion control area. So I would definitely suggest having that reflected on the plan. It's possible to issue a standard order, but or an order of conditions, but with the condition of adding those details on the plan and probably extending the erosion control where the plantings will be. Those are my 2 cents.
If I may, Madam Chair,
Yes, please, Matt.
the shrub plantings are all along the property line right here where I'm waving my cursor. The majority of the shrub plantings are out of the buffer zone, save this little triangle. They're not going to go past the approved developed portion here, which would be by the erosion protection here. If the commission does see fit to grant an order of conditions, I can have the 2 white oaks survey located here onto the plans. They're definitely not within 30 feet. They're just behind the 50-foot zone. And those are the only trees that he's looking to remove. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. If the commission wouldn't mind indulging me just for a moment, I do have photos of the trees that I did take today. If I could share those.
That would be great, Matt. Do you have annotated on those drawings that there are no trees coming out aside from those 2?
No, but we can add that into the plan.
Okay.
In other words, it's one small detail. If the commission wishes to grant approval, we can add that commensurate to the approval with a condition that, Sophie doesn't issue the order until she sees that. So here is the white oak. You've got a white oak here, which, as you can see by the conditions of the bark, is compromised. And you got one that was a double stem white oak. This stem right here is dead. It is deader than a doornail. This one right here is on its way out. And this one right next to it is on its way out. This is a close-up of the one that's a single stem. And that is the one that would be, you can see I pasted off from, here's the stake of the 50-foot zone. When you measure it off with your feet in a tape measure, it comes out to 10 feet from the 50 feet from the back of the root ball. So it's going to be no closer to the wetland than 40 feet. The tree will not be stumped. They will merely be cut down because of their bad condition. And there are some other trees that are there that are basically, I don't know if you can see me going through the pictures, but there are other trees where he was starting to mark off the 50-foot zone that are like snags. They're little things. And that stuff's just going to remain because they're small and it does nothing. The rest of the canopy is being maintained. The only thing that would be weird, and you can see right here in front of the 50-foot zone, in front of the bales on the shared screen, this is the area where the trees are going to be cleared out. So.
Rich, you have your hand up.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just wanted to make sure if we're going to be annotating the plan with the 2 trees that are coming out, that we also mark that the erosion protection will be the limit of work and grading. And I'd recommend that become those be survey located prior to the start of the project and the tree removal.
Yeah, that's fine. That works.
Yep, just to make sure that
that
we
was-
don't get bananas with the chainsaw.
Well, in the notice of intent, I'm glad you actually said that, because in the notice of intent, one of the things I do mention is that the limit of clearing and grading is at the erosion protection, and that's what the erosion protection is also designed to do, to be a limit of work and a limit, and erosion protection. So yeah, I mean, having that on the order basically reinforces the narrative and the notice of intent. And
Yep.
survey locating the erosion protection, yeah, I mean, that's not an issue at all.
Perfect. And just have it in place prior to the tree clearing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rich. And so, Matt, you said, I think Sophie said that you have a schedule of replanting or shrubbery that you're gonna install or
The
plant?
shrubbery, the shrubbery, which we will have marked out for you as well, is basically, can you see what my cursor is waving?
I see your cursor, yeah, but I don't see any annotation that indicates that there's,
We're gonna add that to it. This actually just came up in discussions just recently with my client, because he just got a ZBA approval. And as part of the result of the ZBA approval with the abutter that is here, he worked out a compromise where he would put like a shrub layer right here. The majority of this, like, here's the 100-foot buffer zone right here.
Yeah.
So the majority of the shrub layer along the property line is actually out of the buffer zone. It's this small, maybe 15-foot section right here that's in the buffer zone. And I'll have the whole thing annotated as part of the order of conditions, but the majority of that is actually out of the buffer zone. Period. And it won't go past the limit of clearing where the erosion protection is. So the condition that Commissioner Birch was talking about, well, like I was telling Commissioner Birch, I thought it was a great idea because it's kind of reflective of what we'd put in the narrative to begin with. So it works.
do I have questions or comments from other members of the commission? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. Do we have any questions or comments from members of the public? And if people are struggling to see the find the raise your hand icon, you can always just unmute and let me know you have a comment, call on you. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, and nobody's speaking up, so I don't have any other questions or concerns there. I'm open to accepting motions from the commission.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve this project with a standard order of conditions. And make sure that we receive a plan annotating that the limit of work is at the erosion protection. The erosion protection is survey located in place prior to the treeing, and the 2 white oaks are marked on the plan. And the hedge going in at least within the 100-foot buffer is marked on the plan as well.
Very good, Rich. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
And I for myself. Approved with standard order of conditions and additional conditions as articulated by Rich Birch. Thank
Okay,
you.
We will get those annotations into you for either the end of the week or early next.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Have a
Moving
good-
along. Thank you. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg's Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing for a notice of intent for Harbor Classic Homes LLC. The project proposal is for the construction of a single-family home. All work is within the buffer zone and exclusively related to. And the address is 97 Cross Street, Lot 5. And do we have Harbor Classic Homes their representative here tonight?
Yes, John Plifka, McCarty Engineering.
Hi, John. Would you like to share the plans and give us an overview of your project?
Absolutely. 1 second. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening, John Plifka, McCarty Engineering here tonight representing the applicant for notice of intent at 97 Cross Street. This project was previously issued an order of conditions back in 2020. Unfortunately, the order had expired, so we are refiling this. The last meeting, there was a certificate of compliance approved to be issued for the project to avoid having 2 open orders on the property. So the work is completely in the buffer zone, is an exclusive to the stormwater infrastructure that's required as part of the town of Lunenburg's local bylaws. And excuse me. These are the exact same plans that we submitted previously and that the project was approved through. And we did have a couple of comments from DEP, one regarding NESHAP. We have been in contact with NESHAP. We talked to them on the phone and they told us to send them the updated NOI package, which we did. And the other questions that are comments that they provided pertaining to stormwater regulations, the stormwater handbook, are not exactly practical in the sense that this is a residential development. We had to locate these rain gardens in the spot that they're at because it's the lowest point on site. So we can't really move them anywhere else. And, per the stormwater handbook, residential development is to the maximum extent practical, which we are providing. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions and I'd be happy to try to answer any of them.
Could you zoom in a little bit on this? So
yeah,
just kind of walk us
absolutely.
through the driveway area and whatnot.
So this is the only work in the buffer zone, is the driveway itself. And you can see these shaded areas here, those are the rain gardens. And because of Lunenburg's local stormwater bylaw, we had to locate them here, and they're located within the 30-foot no touch. So we are requesting a waiver for that, but just a driveway to a single family residence. This was previously a part of a 5-lot subdivision. This is the last lot. And the developer was trying to proceed with this last lot and discovered that his order of conditions had expired, and that's why we're here in front of you tonight.
And so you're not actually having to do any fill into the wetland?
No wetland fill. There's an existing culvert that we plan on utilizing here that connects the 2 wetland systems. This is originally a piece of farmland, so I think a farmer a while back, created that. So no wetland fill. This is buffer work only.
Okay, I was reading the DEP comments. Sophie, have you had an opportunity to go out there, and do you have recommendations for us?
Yeah, I was out there a little while ago.
And the flags, the flags are still in there and in good condition?
I did not recognize or pay attention to any flagging. There were no stakes or anything like that.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Just, I don't mean to cut you off, Sophie, but the erosion and control barrier has been in for, a couple of years now. So that's been put in place. I know Sophie mentioned she'd like to see a couple of spots replaced just because it deteriorated over time. But when we were on site, I might have been about a month ago, erosion control barriers were in, and we actually did have the center line of the driveway staked out. So we didn't necessarily inspect flags, but you could really see the scope of the work that we're proposing.
Sophie, please continue.
Yes, I couldn't see any flagging to, confirm that the wetland delineation is in fact, currently, what was currently there matches what was done a few years prior.
Okay.
There were other DEP comments. Detail showing the seasonal high groundwater. I didn't see that in the recently submitted NOI. John, you can correct me if I'm missing something, or DEP was missing something on that as well.
Sophie, are you referring to the test pits they're requiring to verify seasonal high groundwater?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, so we're proposing to do that prior to construction. It could be we'd be probably looking for that to be a condition of approval. That's how we've done it on a lot of sites here in town, that we use, NRCS soil survey data to get an accurate idea. And then before we actually construct them, we dig a test pit to confirm.
Sophie, back to you.
Yep. Well, my recommendation as of now would be to issue the first I have to issue the COC for the original filing, and for this one issue an order of conditions with the contingent upon the test pits and what follows with that kind of work as well. I don't have any other comments.
What's the open order of conditions number, John or Sophie?
Oh, hold on one sec.
I don't have that.
Let me just pull up my email. The original order of conditions was DEP number 208-1195, and that was issued on October 17th, 2020.
Okay, so the first order of conditions, or the first issue of business is to close that, and then we can look at the existing. I don't think we can close the current hearing because you haven't heard back from NHESP.
No,
So
we
would have
have.
to hold. Oh, you have heard from?
Yeah, and I apologize if I misspoke earlier. I thought the COC was taken care of at the last meeting, because we filed this as, the work was never started. So, and Sophie had met me out on site. So I apologize if I was misspoke on that, but it was my understanding that was taken care of last meeting.
We sure had it on our agenda at the last meeting. Sophie, was that closed?
Yes, yes, that was voted on, and approved. I just haven't physically been able to issue it, send
Okay,
it to them.
okay.
That's all.
So then that's okay. That's already done then.
Yep.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood what you said then. Okay, and so what has NHESP said to you?
They said they'd put it on file, and that there was no change of their takings prior. So we sent them all of our recently submitted materials. They pretty much said thank you, and there's been no further action requested at this time.
Okay, and we have that that letter and correspondence from them in our office.
I don't know if you do. It's just an email. I could forward it off to Sophie.
Yeah, we would need to have
Yeah,
that.
that's not a problem.
Okay. Do we have questions or comments from members of the commission? I do have a little bit of a concern that you're proceeding without having it flagged. I know you said the limit of work, right, is where the erosion control is, and that's been there since the consistent with the original order of conditions. But typically we have that flagged and we make certain that everything on the drawing is consistent with the field conditions first. So that's a little bit of a concern for me, but I think I would take advice from Rich or Jeff or other commissioners on that point of technicality.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, myself, where there really hasn't been any other work on this site other than just the installation of the erosion protection. I don't think, given the topography in there, that the wetland delineations would have changed over the last couple of years.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, because I do remember being out on site back in 2020 when we did this original.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for
So,
that.
yeah, it's pretty rocky and ledgy out through there. So it's not an area that's going to change quickly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And do we have Sophie, do you have the original conditions that were placed on this project?
The original orders of conditions.
Yes. Which I would think that we would want to
in the
consider.
SharePoint, or
do you? Yeah, yeah. Well, SharePoint is our source of our archive, source of record. So, or do you have them in email, or do you have them somewhere? I would think that we would want to condition this the same way we had before, since this is essentially just an extension, even though we have to go through the formality of reissuing it.
we definitely have them.
Madam Chair, if I may interject just briefly. I agree with you saying that it is an extension. I just want to note that I guess the big change, or the only technical change is, right, that this originally was for NOI, was for the whole development. So I just want to make sure that this order is for 97 Cross Street.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that clarification, John. I appreciate that.
Not a
And that wasn't actually, I think, clear to me. So thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Oh, not a problem.
I don't have the orders of conditions readily, the original anyway, readily available.
I would prefer to proceed with this with an understanding of what the original conditions were. You know, even if some of them may not be applicable to this specific lot, but I'd like to see what they were. It's my own preference as one member of the commission. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but I would certainly like to hear from them in that point. Everybody's being shy tonight. Jeff, yes.
Yeah, I think just a standard order of conditions with the limit of work to be the erosion control barrier. I can't see anything else that we would place on this personally. That's
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Do we have any comments from members of the public? I'm not seeing any comments from members of the public. So I think I'm looking for a motion here.
I'll make a motion, standard order of conditions, limit of work to be the erosion control. That's Jeff.
And Jeff, would it be acceptable within that we wait on issuing this NOI until our office gets a copy of the NHESP letter?
Yes, that would be,
Thank
we
you.
could add that. Sure.
Second,
Thank you, Chris. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Chris,
aye.
and I for myself.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, if I could just interject, can we just, before we close the public hearing, can we just clarify that the correspondence, it's not a letter from them per se, it's an email. I hope that's
Yeah, I think that's
acceptable.
fine. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
see
all
that.
right, not a problem. I just wasn't sure if you were anticipating a letter,
No,
so, okay, very
correspondence.
good.
I just
Just
want to make certain that we have something from them saying, you know, that they agree, you can proceed.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing for a notice of intent for the reconstruction of an existing rock revetment and landscape changes on the shore of Hickory Hills Lake at 154 Peninsula Drive. Do we have the applicant and or the representative here tonight?
Madam Chair, Ryan Proctor with Dillis and Roy, representing the applicant.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello, how are you?
Why don't you share your plans and take us, give us an overview of the project?
Absolutely. Let me just pull up the plan. All right, so the existing site is 154 Peninsula Drive. I'm representing Matt Pearson, who recently purchased the property end of 2023. The site is accessed via a paved driveway on the north side of the site. Contains an existing single-family dwelling with an existing deck on the south side of the property. There are several trees on the site, all of which are in green. And along the shoreline, there is an existing rock revetment, partial retaining wall that wraps around into the cove. And just so the commission is aware of where the buffer zone is, the shoreline of Hickory Hills wraps around the east side of the site as well. So I've drawn on the 50-foot no build here. This is the outer line here. The 100-foot buffer zone is actually entirely off the property. So the entire site, most of the site is located within the 50-foot wetland offset. I'm going to switch to the proposed site plan. So we were contacted by the owner of the property. He had met with Mark Birch from Lakeview to do some landscape improvements around the existing site. And before they got too far along with that, Mark recommended that they reach out to us to facilitate the permitting through your commission, which is why we filed the notice of intent. The proposed project is split up into basically two parts, the upland portion of the site and then some shoreline improvements. So I'll just work clockwise around the house and talk about the upland portion. So coming off the end of the paved driveway, there's an existing brick walkway, which leads to a landing area in the front door. The applicant wishes to reconstruct that brick walkway with a paver walkway that would be located within the same footprint with a similar void ratio between the pavers, so as not to increase the impervious area in that walkway. Moving along to the east side of the house, we are proposing to re-landscape the existing, I'll call it a yard. It's not necessarily grass, it's more of a mossy land cover with some gravelly patches poking through. This entire side, we're proposing to plant a variety of native species, shrubs, perennials, a lot of overstory cover, something that doesn't need to be maintained often or mowed and seeded and the like. There's an existing brick walkway that leads from the entryway around this side of the house. We're proposing to remove that entirely, and that area will be re-landscaped along with the other landscape improvements on the site. We are not proposing any tree removal on this side of the property. On the south side of the dwelling, there's an exit door, which leads to a concrete patio. We are proposing to replace that with a paver patio. So that'll be decreasing the amount of full impervious in that area. That leads to an existing fieldstone walkway. We are proposing to keep the walkway. The steps currently are very small and spaced pretty close together, so you kind of have to tiptoe your way to walk on it. It's a little bit awkward. So we're proposing to install just some bigger stones that are spaced adequately just for ease of access from that patio down to the water.
But the total
Moving-
area is going to be the same there?
Total area would be the same. The field stones would be separated, so there'd be a pretty significant void ratio between those pavers, just to help with infiltration in that area. The existing deck on the side of the house is proposed to be reconstructed in the same footprint. It's currently timber, and it's showing some signs of failure, especially on the outside. So we're proposing to replace that within the same footprint. That'll be a standard deck. It'll be composite, but it'll have spacers in between so that there will be some infiltration of stormwater through the deck. Along this frontage, we are proposing again to restore the existing land cover with a mixture of shrubs and perennials. And the deck currently has two 12-inch maple trees that are actually growing up through the decking. We are proposing to remove those, and those would be replaced because they're within the 30, consistent with your bylaw. There would be a total of 4 replacements for those trees. And I do have a note on our site plan relative to that. So note 8 here is right out of your regulations. So there are two 12-inch trees. They require 2 replacements each. And those would be located in the 30 and part of the overall comprehensive landscape plan that Lakeview would put together. The last thing on the left side of the house, there is currently another brick walkway that leads off a second portion of the deck and down to a seasonal dock. We are proposing to memorialize that walkway with fieldstones similar to what we've done here below. And that would lead down to an existing landing area near the seasonal dock. The second portion of the project is along the shoreline. So the applicant is proposing to reconstruct the revetment along approximately 125 linear feet of shoreline. Basically, that would pull back the revetment such that it's recessed into the slope. We'd be holding the upper bank elevation and then creating a dry stacked vertical retaining wall with a filter fabric behind to prevent some migration of sediment that's currently happening now and washing out into the water. We would have erosion protection on the top of that wall, as well as a poly barrier in the water to prevent any migration of sediment down into the lake. Since these shoreline improvements exceed the 50 linear feet along the shoreline, the Wetland Protection Act requires us to do a wildlife habitat evaluation. So the applicant did contact Dan Wells of LEC Environmental to perform that evaluation, and I did submit a copy of that to your commission with all of our materials. It's a little over 40 pages. I won't read through the whole thing, but I would like to just read the summary, and I'll pull it up on the screen so anyone else can read along also. So this is an excerpt from the summary of Dan's report. The proposed project will not permanently impair or remove any important habitat features listed in Appendix A or Appendix B, or substantially reduce the ability of the resource area to provide wildlife habitat functions, including food, shelter, migratory, and breeding areas for generalist wildlife species. Wildlife habitat functions will remain post-project and will be enhanced through the proposed native plantings. The project will improve the water quality of Hickory Hills Lake by reducing erosion due to wave action with an improved stabilized rock revetment and providing new native vegetation to expand the vegetated buffer adjacent to the lake. I therefore conclude that the proposed project avoids, minimizes, and mitigates adverse impacts on wildlife habitat, and that it will not, following 2 growing seasons of project completion and thereafter, substantially reduce the site's capacity to provide important wildlife habitat functions. So I did submit a copy of that entire report to your commission for your review. And then I'll just say two more things. I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded. We did submit a copy of this plan to the Hickory Hills Lake Association for their review. They review all lakefront projects, and they did issue a preliminary review. They had 3 conditions. They asked that if your commission issues an order of conditions, that we provide them with a copy of that. They requested that the property line does not move, so that we're not proposing to alter any lot lines here. And they recommended that the work be performed during a drawdown. And that leads into the last thing I'll say is that we have received a file number from DEP, and that was file number 2081323. They had no comments on any of the means or methods of that retaining wall or any of the landscape improvements. Their only comment was a recommendation that the commission consider conditioning the work to occur during a period of drawdown. And that is not a problem for us. We're planning on doing that anyways. The applicant's been talking with Brett Ramsden, who's well experienced on lakeshore projects in town. So that is our plan to do it during a period of drawdown. I will leave it at that. Again, thank you for bearing with me. I'm happy to take any questions.
Did you say where the replacement trees were going to go?
I did not. That was going to be worked out with Lakeview. We do have some spots along the east side of the house that I think would be appropriate. They would definitely be within the 30. That's where all the landscape improvements are happening. I don't have specific locations for them at this time.
Okay, and so I take it that we don't have the landscape proposal from Lakeview?
Not specifically. Mark just mentioned that just to say that all the species that he'd be picking would be consistent with other projects in town. There would be native and other lakeshore projects he's done on the lakes here.
Rich.
Madam Chair, as the applicant is working with my brother, I'm going to recuse myself from this hearing.
Thank you, Rich. Jeff.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a question or a comment more. With lake levels rising fast on lakes, it seems that some of these projects are being started in the fall and the lake rises and they're in the water. I think we really need to start to put some restrictions on lake level and maybe like a weekly report of the water levels while projects like this are occurring, just for our records.
Where would we get that information from? I mean, is there some automated way to get it or?
Well, even just from a contractor, just to say, the lake's at an operationally feasible level to proceed with the project currently, if we can just get a weekly report. Because just for example, this year, I know Lake Shirley and Hickory Hills were pretty much filled to capacity the first week in January, which is kind of the time that a lot of these projects occur. So, and this is a fairly extensive one. I would assume it would take close to a month.
And is there a way to maybe condition that so that we're not having to have them basically send a report every week, but just that the expectation is they're not doing the work when the lake levels are high? I'm just thinking of, overall workload and whatnot for people.
I mean, I think it's kind of assumed that it's going to be done during drawdown, but
well, I mean, we can
I think some
condition
of
that
these
it would
projects are
happen.
being completed in a situation where the lakes are at full level and they're kind of working in the water.
We could condition this that it is only conducted during drawdown. I think sometimes we condition it as it starts and can't start until after drawdown, but maybe we should condition it that it has to
Okay.
proceed. I'm and again, just kind of thinking about, well, if they're sending weekly lake levels to Sophie, then what does she do with it? And would she know, just standing flat footed, if that's good enough? Or,
Well, I think
that
if it
reported
comes
level is good
across,
enough or not?
one week the lake level's 3 feet down and the next week it's down 2 feet and then the following week it's down a foot, then maybe she'd want to go out and take a look.
Yeah, and that's okay too. We can condition it however the commission wants.
Okay.
I just we're kind of struggling to complete everything in the on the roster anyway. So that's why I'm a little bit careful about adding more go out and look kind of things. If we could just condition it with the expectation, maybe that might be better. Do we have other comments from the commission? Oh, and I think I want to clarify too, Jeff, I appreciate those comments because I think they are good comments and certainly relevant. Things have been coming up and we don't want the work proceeding while the water levels are up, even if it started. So thank you for bringing that up. Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say, I've only been here a little over a year, but it's one of the better projects I've seen in terms of using native and keeping things within the footprint, and even with the wall, it all looks like improvements to me. So it's a nice project. It's refreshing. I see a lot of projects where they're always trying to, I don't know, push the boundaries. And here, I like the look of the project. I'm kind of excited to see this.
Thank you, Chris. I don't see any other comments from the commission, so I'll open it to members of the public. If we have any comments, please raise your hand, speak up, or wave into the camera. I'm not seeing anything there too. So I am open to motions, but I would suggest that maybe, because we haven't seen the planting plans, is that our conditions include that the plantings are done with natives, and that the planting plan is submitted to the office prior to work. And then that we take into consideration Jeff's comments about the lake levels and ensuring the work's not done while the lake levels have bounced back up unexpectedly. Do we have any motions?
So moved.
So Chris, you're okay with those conditions that I recommended?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. So we'll go for a roll call vote. Chris St. Germain,
Aye.
Jeff Viviano,
Aye.
Rich Bursch has recused himself. Jenny,
Aye.
and I for myself.
I appreciate it and have a good night.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing for a notice of intent by Timothy K. Gendron and the Revocable Trust. The project proposal is for construction of a residence duplex, associated driveway, and drainage features. The location is within the edges of bordering vegetated wetland and buffer of an intermittent stream at Lot 2 Crossroad Parcel 99-11. And do we have the applicant and or their representatives here tonight?
Yes, ma'am. You have Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering.
Okay, Chris, you want to take us or give us an overview
sure.
of the project?
Yep. So if I could just share my screen real quick, I can pull
Please
up the
do.
plan. All right. Again, just for the record, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering. We're here for the construction of a duplex structure on Lot 2 Cross Road, parcel 99-11. Currently, the property is undeveloped and is comprised primarily of woodland. We have a bordering vegetated wetland that runs along pretty much the center of the property itself, as noted in the hatched green area, if you will. It's the intent to construct a duplex structure as close to the road as reasonably possible with zoning setback requirements. Access to the property will be provided by a new paved driveway, which will extend off a cross road and into the proposed structure. Much of the work associated with the project would be grading around the proposed building itself. We've utilized a walkout basement to help minimize grading impacts along the backside of the property, which would be immediately adjacent to the wetland itself. As part of this, we're also proposing to install a dry well system to capture the runoff from the back portion of the property or the building, and allow for some natural recharge capacity on the property itself. The proposed building would be located within the 100-foot buffer zone, but would be located outside the 50-foot no build zone. And the limit of work would run along the 30-foot no disturb zone. So we're meeting the setback requirements of the bylaw itself. Sewer will be utilize the existing sewer main within Cross Road, and water for the site will be provided by private wells. We'll utilize erosion control measures, straw wall and silt fence along the perimeter of work or of the work. That'll be also the permanent line of clearing on the property. And once everything is said and done, we'll loam and seed for permanent stabilization. At this point, we have not received DEP file numbers. We did receive some preliminary comment or questions, if you will, from DEP. One of which was relative to stormwater management. The proposed project is only for a 2-family, but in the coming days or weeks, ideally we'll be submitting for an additional single-family home and work on the existing house that the applicant currently owns that are contiguous with one another. So that would be a total of 4 residential units. And for full disclosure, the applicant also owns an adjacent lot along Pine Grove Road that could be potentially developed in several years from now as another residential structure. So we do start coming very close, if you will, with the stormwater regulations requirement for maximum extent practicable, as we would be somewhere near the 5-unit to 6-unit development criteria. But we provided documentation to Sophia last week showing how we're meeting compliance to maximum extent practicable, just so that we don't get caught in a catch-22 if in a few years they decide to go back and we have to bring all the sites into compliance. An additional comment from DEP was relative to bordering land subject to flooding. We've done an extensive review of the site as well as the various publications from FEMA showing depicting the floodplain. Long and short of it is, and the Commission would like to go into further detail, but based on datum usages between the old FEMA firm panels and what we're currently showing on the plans, effectively there is no BLSL on the property. It's entirely contained within Whalum Pond that's located further off site. So we provided that documentation as well. But effectively the BLSF doesn't extend onto the property. And that's pretty much the gist of the project. Obviously, we haven't gotten DEP file number, so we can't close tonight, but we want to get initial feedback from the Commission ahead of next meeting.
Thank you, Chris. So what I think I wasn't 100% clear on what you were saying about the other building that's planned. Could you just go through that again for me?
Sure. So this will be coming before you guys in the next couple weeks, if you will, but the applicant owns this parcel of land that we're currently for now. We have an additional parcel of land off Grove Road that's owned by the applicant. They're intending to leave that property in its current state for the foreseeable future, so there's no intent to build on it. But as you go further north along Cross Road, there's an existing single-family home lot that the applicant is proposing to subdivide into 2 lots. One lot would include a single-family home, and the other one would be the existing single-family home. So all in all, you'll have in the immediate future right now 4 residential units with the potential of 5 or 6, depending on if the applicant moves forward with the Pine Grove property.
Okay. Okay, I'm clear on
So we're
that. Yeah, you're just giving us full disclosure.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at your plan. So is the where you have erosion control, you have a note that that's the limit of clearing. So it doesn't say it's a limit of work. Is there a note here about the limit of work?
It was the intent that that would be it, but we can add additional notations on the plan, just clearly memorializing that the erosion
Yeah.
control line is the limit of clear and limit of disturbance for long term or for
And then
in
so
perpetuity.
am I understanding too that the proposal is to cut all of the trees with contained within the limit of clearing?
It is at the point, it's the intent to do that at this point in time.
Okay. Sophie, what are your recommendations?
Well, first, if you don't mind, I have some questions, clarifying questions.
Sure.
Quite a few actually. So I reviewed the firm datum, the letter with the bordering land subject to flooding, and so I want to ask. It states that there isn't any located on the property, based on the NAVD 88 datum for 512.90 feet in elevation, but I was looking at the plan pretty extensively, and it appears to me, if I'm interpreting it correctly, that the work would be done within the 512.90 to 506 foot elevation grade. And if I'm interpreting that right, that would be considered within the BLSF.
So through the chair, if you don't mind.
Yes, Chris, please respond.
So it is correct that the elevations of the actual site themselves are would be quote unquote below the 512.9 number, if you will. But what happens is when you look at the topographic information along Lake Whalum itself, there's a natural occurring berm that sits around the 513 to 514 mark along the entire perimeter of the pond. So that creates a physical barrier from floodwater from Lake Whalum entering into this area of the site. So this portion of the site is actually lower than Lake Whalum. But because of that natural or man-made berm, or whoever created it back in the whenever the lake was created, pretty much created a berm that would prevent any floodwaters from entering into this portion of the site. So full disclosure, we had the same gut reaction when we first saw that number as well. So what we did was we further reviewed, if you will, the publication for flood mapping in the area. And I can make my screen work a little bit better. So as a quote unquote gut check, if you will, we looked at the preliminary FEMA firm panels that are currently being reviewed and hopefully will be issued in the coming months. But effectively what that does is it re-reviews the floodplain within these areas Obviously, this is preliminary and still have to go through the vetting process. But FEMA, when they do finally issue these documents, limits the Zone A to the 512.9, which coincided with our calculation for the datum shift. And when you look at the actual current legal firm panel, if you will, back when they first created this FEMA firm, they effectively said, we don't want to study any further, and this is the limit of the study. So that physically put the burden on us to do the analysis that we did perform, and that's how we came up with the determination that the lake's berm that's on this in that area of the limited study contains the floodplain within the lake itself.
Chris, where is that berm approximately on the drawing, or the the drawing that you're showing us?
So it is located well off the property. It's if you look at the, excuse me, if you will, sorry. If you look at our locus plan, here's the locus, the property that's in question. That berm is actually located through here. And we use LiDAR information of the area to determine the where that berm elevation is and where it's located.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Sophie, back to you.
Yep.
Okay, Mary, you asked the next question that I had on location of the berm. So that, from my understanding, that would kind of stop or, possibly stop the water from coming in that direction. But since the wetland has about 3 hydrologic connections, one of which goes directly into flowing out of Lake Whalum, would that pose any sort of changes in the water level there?
So my understanding is that Lake Whalum, sorry, excuse me, discharges down near Valley View Road and Prospect Street. So the water generally flows from the northerly portion of the site, or Lake Whalum, through Lake Whalum and out through that dam structure where it says RM13. And when we look at the preliminary FEMA firm, it kind of it reflects a similar path of water flow.
Okay.
Sophie, any other questions?
Hey, yes, actually, there were 2, it looks like foundation, I can't really, it's kind of small, the foundation drains on the, I guess you would say, north or backside of the proposed building. Yep, foundation drain. And the other structure off to the left, it's a box with the round depiction there. Are those in the location that they are there any alternative locations for them? Can they be moved closer to the 50-foot no build, since they are a structure and could possibly be impervious surface? We don't have a detail on that either.
So the foundation drain is dictated exclusively by how to get the water away from the footing of the foundation. So that one's kind of stuck. All it is a perforated pipe around the footing of the foundation that discharges groundwater. If it does ever reach to the point of the foundation away from the site, that's dictated by gravity. The dry well and the other structure, if you will, right here, is considered the dry well system for the roof drainage. So the intent of, and purpose of putting the dry well in this location was so that we could capture and disconnect the impervious area from the roof from directly discharging into these the jurisdictional areas. So that one's also dictated by topography and hydrology in order to get that disconnect to occur. Otherwise, it would have to be shipped or piped all around the building in order to get it away from that area. So the dry well is effectively a cylindrical structure that's buried in the ground in a bed of stone. So it doesn't really truly constitute any kind of impervious area that would be subject to the no build zone, if you will.
Okay, and then the off of that box depiction there, there's another flared end foundation drain. Is that right?
That would be the extension of the roof gutter system as it comes out of the dry well. We have to provide an emergency relief out of the dry well so that in the event of a very large storm, water can continue to get out of the system. Otherwise, it would fail and effectively surface itself during a very large event, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. So flared end number 2 is effectively a drainage discharge from dry well 2, and that just daylights to existing grade.
Okay. And I'm sorry, did you mention what the end of that would look like? Rip wrap?
It would be rip wrapped at the end of it.
Okay. What is the last thing? Sorry. What is the last on the right of the building or the east of the building, that limit of clearing? What is the purpose of that open space to the right of the building, if that is the limit of clearing?
So that area would just be general lawn and open space for the tenants or occupants of the building. Because there's not a lot of back door or
Chris, maybe we lost your audio. Maybe we lost Chris. No, he's still there. I think we may have lost Chris temporarily.
I think it's reconnecting.
Yeah.
We're trying to.
hello.
Hey, Chris. Glad you're back with us.
Hi, sorry about that. My phone kind of timed out on me for some reason.
Yeah, so you were saying, answering Sophie's question about the clearing to the right as the drawing was displayed.
Yes. So because of the tight constraints from the zoning setback and the wetland itself, we don't give the occupants too much of a open space or a usable lawn area, if you will. So the site is generally designed, instead of going backwards, if you will, from a typical residential development, it's going to the sides, so parallel with the actual wetland itself. As you can see from how the decks are kind of configured on the building itself. So we're going sideways rather than backwards. So we're just trying to provide as much usable space for the occupants and getting it as far away from the actual wetland itself.
Did we lose Sophie?
Nope. Nope.
Okay.
Just processing. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
And Sophie, with those questions, did you have any recommendations for the commission or concerns that you wanted to bring to our attention?
Well, I would be concerned about any clearing that isn't deemed necessary, such as the grass to the right, specifically. I am concerned about any water discharging that close to the 30-foot no disturb zone. Yeah, those are my two concerns. I don't have recommendations for next steps because of you can't close regardless.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Do we have questions or comments from members of the commission? Rich, I'll call on you.
Madam Chair, I did have a quick question, and unfortunately I wasn't available on Saturday. Did we go out and view this on Saturday? The site walk?
I'll let Jenny answer that. I think Jenny was the
Yeah,
only
so-
commissioner that was available. Sorry, Jenny.
I did go out, and I took pictures. It seems very wet there, but if I'm looking at the plan, it seems I'm wondering what Sophie thought when she went out, just because it seems like so much of that lot starting about 40 feet in from the road is just really, really wet. So I tried to make sense of a lot of the markers out there, and it seemed like the markers were kind of in the wet spots, and so I had a really hard time making sense of this lot.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my concern was with the delineation itself. Just in looking at it, quick, flags 6 and 7 and 8 don't seem to be following the far side of the wetland as far as the elevation. You know, on the far side, they seem to be up at 506, you know, E19, E18, E17. But then, you know, corresponding A6, A7, A8 are below the 506 elevations. I was just questioning. And it may be something I might try to get out there this week and take a look where we can't close it anyways. But I wasn't sure if Sophie had checked on the delineation.
Sophie, can you respond to Rich's question as well? I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Jenny's, and I wanted to say that yes, I do believe that the majority of that site in general that I was walking around did seem a lot tighter between the buffer and the actual roadside itself. And I do think the delineation is questionable. So I would definitely back myself and other commissioners going out there again to have a closer look at the flagging. Because the whole
Through
site
the
for
chair.
me is it is concerning.
Through the chair, if it makes sense, I can reach out to Chuck Karen with Karen Environmental. He did the delineation on the site. I think it might make sense to have Chuck, any of the commission members who want to be on site at the time, and Sophia, and have him walk through the delineation line and show how it was determined. That way there's no question of why the line is doing what the line is doing, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Rich, back to you.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern to start with, was the delineation. I'd like to try to get out there if we can make an appointment with Chuck to go out, because it looks from the report like he did it in February, so He would have been relying on the soils for the most part.
Alright, so I will reach out to Sophia tomorrow at some point and get Chuck on the line. I believe he's on vacation this week, but I'll see what I can do to kind of fast track that with him once he gets back to work.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? And do we have questions or comments from members of the public? Not seeing any hands at all, and that's okay. So, Chris, it looks like we're looking for a continuation. And
Yes, so
would you be wanting us to continue to June 5th or June 19th?
why don't we continue to June 5th? And if anything comes up, I will reach out ahead of that meeting and request another continuance, but I think we should be able to get this wrapped up by then.
Okay. So I think I'm looking for a recommendation from the commission, motion by the commission to continue to June 5th.
So moved, Rich.
Thank you,
Second.
Rich. Thank you, Chris.
Great,
So
thank you very much.
thank you. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself, continuing to June 5th. Okay, moving along. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended of the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing for a request for determination for PJ Keating Company. The project proposal is for replacement and maintenance work connected to the existing pump house. The location is within 100 feet of a bordering vegetative wetland and a priority habitat number 1738 related to 495 Leominster Shirley Road. Now, do we have a representative from the Keating Company here tonight?
Yes, we have a couple. I'm Jacob Bremer, Assistant Environmental Compliance Manager at PJ Keating.
Jacob?
And we also have Cody Delaney and Rob Pagan. Would you mind if I shared my screen?
Please do.
Alrighty,
Give us an overview of what you're planning to do down there.
sure. Okay, so as we can see here, just a quick overview of the general plot of land. And I'm going to scroll down. We're going to get a little bit closer to where the well house is located. The current well house is located here, and these faint green lines are the wetlands. So the area proposed for replacement and maintenance work is located directly adjacent to and connected to an existing well and pump house. This location is within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetland and priority habitat number 1738. But there will be no infringement to the vegetated wetland, and the PH area is at the outermost portion of mapped habitat with an existing building and rail spur immediately adjacent. A quick description of the work: PJ Keating Company proposes to excavate a 4-foot deep footing, 42.5 feet in length, to create a 12 by 18-foot foundation. We will be pouring a concrete slab, 12 feet in width, 18.5 feet in length, and 6 inches deep inside that excavation, and erecting a wood shed on top of the slab. This project represents a replacement of an existing well. The replacement well has been approved by Mass DEP, and I will show you a quick plan. So here, this brown rectangle is the existing well. So we would like to just extend, create a new lean-to right next to it. This wetland area, I believe it's actually fenced off or not easy to access, but we will be going nowhere near it, just in this general area. And the access road to it kind of comes up along on the far side of the wetland. Oh, and I'll scroll down and show some photos that we have of the wetland. I believe they're in here. That might not be. Okay. Maybe I went too far. One other thing that we wanted to bring up was to identify provisions of the Wetland Protection Act or regulations which may exempt the applicant from having to file a notice of intent for all or part of the described work. So, per the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, we request that the commission consider the following: 310 CMR 10.02.2A2, activities conducted to maintain, repair, or replace, but not substantially change or enlarge an existing and lawfully located structure or facility used in the service of the public and used to provide electric, gas, water, sewer, telephone, telegraph, and other communication services, provided said work utilizes the best practical measures to avoid or minimize impacts to wetland resources areas outside the footprint of said structure or facility. A project proponent claiming that work to remove, fill, dredge, or alter an area specified in 310 CMR 10.021 does not require the filing of a notice of intent, has the burden of establishing that work is not subject to regulation under MGL-C 13140.
Oh, and so this is a public well?
I believe it is.
I'm surprised. I would expect a little bit more confidence if you're proposing an exemption based on it being to serve the public.
I'm sorry, I'm like still kind of new to the company, if I'm being honest with you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I believe
Good
Cody
evening,
I'm not,
would know
Chair.
a lot more about
Yeah.
the
Sophie, you have your hand up.
If I may interject, I did some research myself, and I don't believe that this is a public service type of well. There was no number associated with it. Usually you can use a number to look up public water services like that. And I believe this is a private, so this wouldn't be an exempt activity.
Thank you, Sophie. Cody?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. Cody Delaney with PJ Keating Company. So yes, this is a private well that PJ Keating uses for their crushing operation and dust emissions control. Back, I would want to say probably 40, 50 years ago, the Keating family exchanged this well with a well that the town of Lunenburg owned on the right-hand side of Leominster Shirley, close to the Shirley line. So originally it was a town service provided well, and then the Keating family and the town switched the well locations. I believe that's where Jacob's coming from with that one.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. I
Okay.
apologize.
So it's currently a private well. Historically, it had been a public well.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. And Jacob, I didn't mean to mess with your flow by asking the question. So please continue.
Oh yeah, no problem. So like I said before, we yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. We do have DEP approval already. And we are looking for the commission's approval, I believe.
It's an RDA. What do you have DEP approval for? It's typically only the NOIs, I mean, is what I'm familiar with, getting DEP approval. Cody, you have your hand raised?
Excuse me, I just haven't lowered it yet. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, okay, no issues. A lot of times I lower them for people too, but, not quite, on my game tonight, but that's okay.
To answer your question, we have DEP approval for to replace the well.
Okay. On the well replacement. Okay, and again, you're increasing the cement pad there by how much? I was just scanning through your application to see if that was clear to me.
Yes, we'll be pouring a concrete slab, 12 feet in width, 18.5 feet in length, and 6 inches deep.
Okay, and that's replacing an existing pad, or it's a completely new pad?
It's a completely new pad, so we're just going to build right next to the existing, and yeah, you know, create the new well, and just kind of rewire that plumbing.
Okay. Okay, are there questions by members of the commission? Rich?
Am I missing something? I don't seem to have the location of the buildings placed with the wetlands and the wetland boundaries. Am I missing something?
I was
believe-
looking for the same thing.
I mean, I see some measurements. It looks like it's off of the property boundaries. And then it looks like we have the habitat area highlighted. But I'm confused as to where the wetlands are in respect to the slab going in. And it also looks like it's not just a slab. We're also putting in some frost wall footings. Frost walls and footings. Is that correct?
This is Rob Pagani with PJ Keating. That is correct.
Okay.
And a little
And-
backstory here as well. We have 2 other drilled wells that have since been Cody might be able to clarify, but that no longer work currently. That's why we had to put or file for the new well to go in.
And so this is gonna be a bored well? How deep are we going for the well?
So yes, Richard, this is Cody from PJ Keating. This will be a bored well. It will be 83 feet deep. And that is to the depth of the 2 existing wells in the existing structure to match those. So just for everybody to in the loop here, the existing structure is a concrete bunker. So we're unable to drill a new well in that existing structure. So that is why we propose this plan to pour the 12 by 18 pad in addition to the building to put the lean-to structure over that to protect the new desired well.
All right, and do we have a plan of the access to this buildings where the wetlands are located, where the wetland buffer boundaries are? Because I still don't see any delineation or boundaries in relationship to where we're putting this addition.
We do not have that information. What we submitted was what you have seen.
I believe in one of the images that we submitted, you can see the line of where the wetland is. I'll share my screen again, so I can point it out to you.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I see the mass mapper, but I don't see. So we haven't done any delineations on site.
No.
That's correct. No, we have
Okay.
not.
But I'd like to point out, this green line is where the wetland begins. I think we
Oh,
just,
yeah. I can barely see it. It's like a hair on the screen.
yeah, it is kind of thin, isn't it? But this red is, the proposed concrete slab.
And so the green is what? The wetland?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I can see that green. Huh. I can see that on your screen, but I don't actually see that in the. I see something similar in the submittal, but I don't see that in the submittal unless I'm overlooking it.
I think it didn't print very well. I'm looking at this printed submittal too. You can't see the line at all. I see what you mean.
So I think I would like to see, as Rich was pointing out, where the wetland is relative to the work that's being done, and the dimensioning on there so that we know exactly what is where relative to the wetland, and a thick line so that we can see it. And Rich, it was your turn to speak, so I'll go back to you.
Yeah, unfortunately, at this point, without having an actual site plan of where we are in relationships to the wetlands and access roads and things like that, I'm not prepared to make any more decisions on whether we need an RDA or an NOI or.
Well, I pointed out earlier that the access road begins here and comes along here and sticks to the left side.
We can't see that in the drawing. I mean, it's not apparent to me in the drawing anyway.
Yeah, and
Okay.
unfortunately, there's no erosion protection. Unfortunately, it's an incomplete application at this point. Even for an NOI or an RDA.
So if they would come back with a drawing that actually shows where the existing structures are, where the new structure would be, the dimensions from the wetland line, and including the access road, right? Would that put us on a plan to make a determination? Is there anything else that you would be looking for?
I mean, just the standard information that we asked for in an RDA, you know. Yeah, because if you would allow me, I can just share my screen quick.
That would be great, Rich.
Let's see. Am I showing the
Yes.
mass mapper? Okay. So I believe this blue is the wetland as it's depicted on the mass mapper. And we're only 18 feet from the edge of wet right here. But I mean, none of this wetland is depicted on their plan or where exactly we're gonna be drilling or where we're putting it in, so. Just can't get this part to work. Let's try one more time. There we go. Yeah, so where the building is clearly within the 30-foot no touch. And I imagine that this out here is where we're looking to put the pad.
It's on the south side of the building.
So over here,
That's correct.
So we're gonna try to take these trees down or whatever is in here. So, yeah,
No,
unfortunately,
there's no, there would be no tree removal.
okay, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we need what we asked for from every applicant. We need the wetlands delineated, we need the boundaries shown on the plan, we need, the construction shown on a plan.
No problem.
So, yeah, we definitely need a little bit more than what we've gotten right now.
I don't disagree.
And- Yeah, and I mean, clearly, from the wetland boundaries, what we have and what you're depicting are nowhere near close, so.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that any other commissioner would like to, because if we're going to send the applicant back to get some more work, I want them to have a complete list. Is there anything else or any qualification that any other commissioner would like to add to that to-do list? And I'm not seeing anything. And so to the applicant, do you have any questions about what we're asking you to bring back?
Just to recap, we're looking for a site plan that clearly delineates the wetlands, the access roads, distances.
Existing structure versus new structure. Proposed erosion barrier. Where you're drilling.
Okay.
And do you think you would be able to get that back to us in time to support the next meeting is June 5th?
I'm hopeful, yes. I believe so.
Okay, so if we could continue to June 5th, and something falls off your plate because we're going over, Memorial Day weekend, a lot of times work slows down. Just get back to Sophie, our administrator, and ask her for a continuation to the following one would be June 19th. Sophie, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just had a question for the applicant. Was NHESP contacted at all about your proposed plan?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I was just wondering if NHESP has been contacted at all about your proposed plan. The priority habitats of rare species. Actually, your proposed project falls within that area. That's why I'm asking.
Fair question, Sophie. Thank you for flagging that.
I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
this is
our
become
environmental
oh,
agent
you go
recently
ahead.
left the company with the past 3 weeks. So there's kind of been as you can see with our current proposal, a little lackluster here.
That's okay.
We don't have the answer to that. So
I think with it being in the jurisdictional area, we would need to see something from NHESP providing a approval as well.
okay.
Okay, so I think I'm looking for a motion to continue this to the next meeting, which is June 5th.
So moved. Rich Bird.
Thank you, Rich.
Second,
Second, thank you, Jenny. Roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
Rich,
All right.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move along. Okay, so Howard Street is the next one on the agenda. We already cleared that through continuation request. The following one is 255 Sunny Hill Road. And I guess I'm gonna read the whole script. Pursuant to Mass General Law, section 40 as amended in the town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a notice of intent by Stephanie McSweeney for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at 255 Sunny Hill Road, DP number 2081320. Do we have Mr. McSweeney or his representative on the call here tonight?
Yep, John Plifka again here from McCarty Engineering.
Hi, John. Yeah, so I think if I recall correctly, you are back because in our last deliberation and determination for the third party wetlands review, we kind of got the name of the consultant firm and the cost misaligned. And is that right?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That is correct. Yeah, we had the right dollar amount, but the wrong company. So we're here tonight asking or requesting that the board approve Goddard's proposal for the $1,500 to delineate the wetlands only.
And Sophie, would you just double check that we have that Goddard is 1,500? We don't want to make a mistake again. And I mean, it wasn't your fault before. I certainly want to say that out loud, but we don't want to have the applicant go through this again.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. Yep, I see Goddard Consulting wetland delineation peer review cost $1,500. Includes the review of bordering vegetated wetland delineation parameters, including and specifically a review of soils, vegetation, and hydrology. Recommended changes will be made in the field along with data sheets if appropriate.
Okay, thank you for that, Sophie. Are there any other questions by members of the commission regarding what we're considering here? I think it's pretty straightforward. Do we have questions or comments from members of the public on this? And I think this is pretty straightforward. I think I'm looking for a motion by the commission to accept the quote for Goddard for 1,500 for peer review for wetlands only.
So moved. Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Excellent. So since that,
Second.
Yeah, I need to get a second. We need to vote. And I got a second from Chris. So, John, were you going to add anything or no? Okay.
No, sorry. I jumped
That's
the gun a
okay.
little bit there.
I jump ahead sometimes too. More often the later it gets. We're going to do a roll call vote. Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny.
I can vote on this one.
Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. So that ought to get us to the point where you guys can actually pay and we can proceed with the third party review, which I know you're anxiously awaiting.
Absolutely. So I guess we would request a continuance to the next hearing. Am I correct in it? I would like to request a continuance to the next hearing.
Sure.
Right? I think that's kind of what would have to happen next. We approved the Goddard proposal and
we'll have to get them out there and get the results back before the next hearing.
Sure.
But I admire your optimism about that. So
Yeah.
So we have a request for continuation to 6/5. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Second.
Thank you. And we'll vote on the continuation to 6/5. Jeff?
Aye.
Jenny?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I for myself.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your
Thank you,
time,
John.
everyone.
And moving along, next on the agenda is 171 Arbor Street, which we also cleared through earlier continuation hearing. Next is pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Jan Willem for laying of naturalized stone steps and crushed stone path within the buffer zone of a wetland at 141 Hemlock Drive. And do we have the applicant on the call tonight? Just looking, it wasn't apparent to me that they were.
I am on. Can you hear me?
Ah, I can, yeah.
Oh,
And you had said earlier that you went by Jim and not Jan.
correct. Very well remembered. Yes.
Okay, yeah, but I didn't remember any time to look up and identify Jim in the list.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
Okay. Hemlock. Okay, so I think we need to catch everybody up on where we left off. And Jim, do you want to do that for us, or do you want Sophie to do that for us?
No, I can make the introduction and then I leave it up to Sophia and Jenny, who came by to give their assessment. But both of them came over, two separate visits. First Sophia came over and then Jenny came over. I showed them the actual trees that we did cut down, because remember that at one point in time it might have looked like that I had taken down a significant number of mature trees. And I kept on saying, yeah, but these trees were already gone when we bought the house, which was in August last year. And I showed them the trees that we did take down, some smaller ones and some dead trees. So yeah, maybe it's better that Sophia and or Jenny can comment on what they found and give them their assessment.
Thank you, Jim. So Sophie, I'll let you go first.
So during my visit, I was a lot more relieved that second time around compared to the first time I was there. As it was explained, there were far fewer trees removed during the current owner's ownership of the property compared to prior ownership. So I'm going to share really quick. I know it looks kind of wonky with a million different tabs and stuff, but this is reference to what the Hickory Hills Association has provided. Basically, the circles are showing the trees that were proposed for removal. Please mark trees.
No, Sophia, these were actually the ones that we left, remember? The circled ones were the ones that they came back to me at, and they say, yeah, leave these alone, which is what we did. Only on set number 1, we took off some of the branches. Remember that I showed you these?
No, yes.
Okay.
So in short, I believe the number of total removed trees were, I believe 5. You can correct me if that sounds
Yeah,
where
correct.
That's about right. And
yeah,
and the 2 biggest ones were the ones on the side of the house. These were the oak tree that was completely hollow in the inside. And then the one next to it was completely hanging over the house. So these were the 2 that the 3 stars that you see on the left side of the house. These actually were the ones that we did not remove. We just took some branches off that were hanging over the house, but they are still there. These 3, yes. And out of the other 3, the one just, 2 of these were taken down. One was the one that was completely hollow, an oak tree. And then there was another oak tree, the one most to the right side, was the one that was hanging over the house completely, and that one was taken down.
Yes,
And so-
I can confirm they were very diseased. It
Okay.
was completely hollow. And I do think it was definitely a risk to the house.
Okay.
But the limbing went pretty far up because of how tall the trees were. But a surprise to me on the second visit was the plantings of some small pine saplings, about 13, that the current owner, the applicant, has planted, and already a step ahead of the game with replanting there.
Where are those located?
If
Generally.
you follow my cursor, I would say there's a ridge of, I guess you could say, wood chips.
Yeah, I
Kind of
recall.
runs along here.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty spaced out, appropriately spaced out, and obviously there's shade, so not all of them will survive, but there's a good number and a chance that at least a handful will survive out of the 13 that are planted.
Yeah, I planted these in December already, before we left here. So yeah, they've been doing okay. They seem to take, so far they all seem to be taken. So hopefully they do survive.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you wanted to add, Sophie?
No, I'll just back him up on, they do look pretty healthy for the time being as new
Okay.
saplings.
Thank you, Sophie. Jenny, anything you wanted to add?
So I was gonna agree with Sophie that the trees that he did take down looked diseased, and he did plant a significant amount of pines on the property. I did take some pictures of that. And I don't know if we want to see them or not. And then, yeah, so I just agree with everything that Sophie said. I had the same observations while I was there. And then I also have some pictures of the steps that he's hoping to put in and the area where he is hoping to put them in.
Okay, very good. So then I think one question I had, did we have a COC on the previous homeowner's work? Homeowner builder? Sophie?
So I looked in the Worcester Registry of Deeds, and there's no record of certificate of compliance that I could find for the previous order.
Okay. That seems like something that we have to close out.
Yeah, Sophia sent me some information about what the actual order of conditions is that is open.
Mhm.
And it dates back to even before the house was built.
Mhm.
Actually, the same engineering study that I kind of used for the plan that I submitted for the steps to go down, because it identifies what you can and cannot do. I have given all the information to my attorney, the one that helped us close on the house, and the one that provided us with a clean title. And he's working on it. I haven't heard from him since I sent it to him, which is about a week ago. So we are going to be trying to close that out, or close that as quickly as we can.
Okay.
And maybe it's all in compliance. Who knows, right? I mean, I have no idea to establish what is in compliance and what isn't, because the house was built about 2.5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I hope it's all in compliance too, so you don't have any headaches.
Yeah.
Okay, and I believe we need to close that out before we can actually permit the additional work, but it doesn't keep us from actually now I think moving on to considering the new work. But before we move on to the project at hand, do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission about the trees, the status of the removed trees, the planting of the new trees, or any, the order of conditions that's not closed out on the property, anything like that? I'm not seeing any raised hands. So I think I would like to actually look at the original reason why Jim came to us was to ask for permission to put down naturalized stone steps and crushed stone path within the buffer zone. And I would like to look at that so that we can review that work. And while we're waiting on the outcome of the COC, if there's anything additional that we need from Jim, he can go ahead and work on getting us that information so we can get this deliberated as fast as possible. Do we have, Sophie, do we have his plans, or Jim, do you have your plans available that you submitted with the RDA? I'm assuming you submitted some plans with the RDA.
I have them here, but I won't be able to share them on the screen with you.
You have a hard copy of them, I
Yeah.
understand.
But we went through it a little bit during the last meeting. Maybe Sophia has them handy, I don't know. Or maybe Sophia and Jenny can give them their assessment on what it is that I plan to do, or.
Yeah, and I'm actually not seeing the RDA submittal in the folder, Sophia, for the for Hemlock Drive.
Yeah, that one, the RDA wouldn't be in this current folder because we already touched on it, so it's in a previous folder somewhere from a different meeting. I'm not sure which meeting that was. It was a few meetings ago.
Yeah, my last.
You have a bunch of photos. If they would load.
My last notes on this were April 3rd. But I actually don't see that folder in the April 3rd hearing folder either.
And I think we did show some pictures on.
I have an RDA.
Ah, yeah.
Where did you find it?
Chris.
I searched the Google Drive.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would explain it.
Let me share my screen.
Yeah, that would be great. And Jeff, did you have your hand raised for the same reason?
Well, no, I was just wondering, is he looking to put steps in with a walkway down to the lake? Is that,
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it.
okay, because that's on the original notice of intent.
Is it? Interesting. So then it
So-
might work to his advantage to have the NOI still open.
Yes, so he has approval for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 steps and a walkway going down to the water.
Very good.
You still need to see it.
Yeah, I think I would like to see, but maybe let's look at Jeff. Can you share what you're looking at first?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
No, that's okay.
actually, it's on the Google Drive. I can't, I'm on an iPad, so I just can't.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I have 2 iPads going here. One to
What's the
look at stuff and-
document? Jeff, I can.
If you look up 141 Hemlock, it's site plan revised, dated
Okay.
10/3,
All right.
I think.
And Jenny, you
Yeah.
have your hand up?
I just had it up if you want me to share my screen.
Yeah, that's
then-
excellent.
And
And then I just lost it.
Well, you're sharing.
I don't know if that's
Somebody's
the
sharing.
latest one.
Somebody else took it.
Oh, that was me, sorry.
You guys are on fire tonight. Yeah, okay, so I see a
this
plan
was-
that,
Yeah,
What was
so if you zoom in on
approved.
that area, those are the stairs and there's actually approval for a 5 by 20 dock.
So the only downfall is the order of condition, or the order of conditions is expired. So he's still gonna have to file
Oh,
to
okay.
put
Well, he's
this
But at
already,
in.
least we have an exact plan of probably what he wants to do, and it's already been approved, and
Yeah.
and Jim, is this consistent with what you were proposing?
Yeah, so is this now what I did propose, or was this already proposed before this?
This was already proposed. This was with the house build.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's exactly the paperwork that I submitted, right?
Yeah, I think this was the IDA that was submitted.
And what
Is
date
it-
does it have a date on there or not? Because I got the old paperwork saying September the 17th.
Oh, yeah, this is the RDA. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what was being shared. This is the RDA.
This is what I submitted.
I believe it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it said 2024.
Yeah, and it gives it a description of what we were doing there.
Unfortunately, I can't rotate it.
I'm trying to I don't know how to rotate.
You have to download
this.
it first and then rotate it.
Okay.
Jenny, did you have a comment?
So,
We're all
I
looking sideways.
An email
Yep,
request
open that.
for
yeah, this
on
is it.
July 28th, of 2021, asking for a 3-year extension on the order of conditions.
Oh.
I don't know if I can't figure out if they got it or not, though.
And so the request was July
It was July 28th, so it's if you're looking in the Google
2021.
Drive, yeah, July 28th, 2021. So if they did get it, it would be sometime after that date, which would put us after today's date. I just can't see if they went through with it or not.
Yeah, if it actually had been approved or not.
Right.
So can we maybe go through the description of what I submitted then?
Yes, let's do that.
If you can just scroll this page up a little bit, and then here it is. So that's the description of what we are planning to do. Laying natural bluestones and creating steps on the right side of the house. We have a pretty steep slope immediately on the right side of the house, followed by laying stones natural on a bed of crushed rocks in the 30 no disturb zone towards the water, to 5 feet from the high water mark. All in compliance as described in the site plan, and that's the site plan that you showed earlier. That's the engineering plan that was made in 2018. Here it is. You see the verbiage on the right-hand side is where it basically lists what you are, what you can and cannot do, and that's what we are going to be planning to be in compliance with. So it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a steep slope down to the lake, and there's some erosion at the end of that, and we try to avoid that by putting crushed stones on it and then put the steps in.
Thank you.
Wouldn't you agree, Sophia and Jenny? I mean, I tried to explain it to you as good as I could. But...
And Jenny, I think you said you had some photos of the material as well.
I do.
I would love to see
share my
those.
screen.
And I think previously some of the commissioners had asked for that information as well.
Okay, can you see my screen?
I can.
All right, so this is the stone that he's planning on laying. They're very large,
They're
naturalized
beautiful.
stone. They are beautiful. And this is the area. And it's a slope down. It's about we measured where he was going to be putting them in. The biggest stone would be about 7 feet wide. And this area should be from like here, about half of this area. And then it'll get smaller as it goes down. That's the type of stone. And then this is the area where he would be putting more stone going down. With another slope, and I think, were you planning on leaving those wooden steps, or were you going to replace that with stone too?
No, they're gonna be gone. They are loose planks at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the trees that we were talking about that he had planted. So I don't have anything else of and those are more of the trees that he planted. So those are all
You
my
see
pictures.
that big stump there is not a tree that I took down. That was already taken.
Right. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Do we have questions or comments from other members of the commission? And I think I made a note when we last discussed this, Rich, that you particularly had asked for, some better understanding of the materials that were going to be used and proposed. Does that address your questions and concerns about the materials that are proposed here?
Yes, yep.
Okay. And so I don't think we can close this out until we actually, dig up the COC on the previous work and get that closed out.
So I
But-
could not get started with the steps at this point.
I don't think you can. I think that's a pretty hard and fast rule. I'll take advice from other members of the commission about that, but I don't think that we can have.
Well,
Can
if
we
we can
do-
find if we can find the extension on the order of conditions, then he can proceed.
Yeah, if we can find the approval on the extension, then yeah, it's possible to proceed. If it was granted and not expired.
Yeah.
And how can we find that? If it is there?
Sophie would need to look for that for us, our administrator.
Okay.
Or, if your attorney happens to find it, right, before Sophie does, then, but we're not gonna look forever. We're just, we'll give it a go. And if it doesn't, if we can't find that, but we find the order of conditions, then I think we try to get it closed at the next hearing. And then simultaneously open a hearing for the RDA and attempt to get you an approval there as well, unless somebody sees a different path forward here. Okay, I think that's what we have to do, is we have to close out. So then I think Sophie, if you would look for to see if the extension was granted, and if you don't find that within a day or so, then let's and I guess we need a request from we would need a request from Jim to actually initiate the COC process, right? So if you don't find the extension approval, then let's reach out to Jim and start the COC process.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Rich.
I did just find in the meeting minutes of October 6, 2021, that an extension permit was granted.
Ha! Golden.
So this Board of Conditions is still still active. So it would
Excellent.
just be a matter of a field change if he's changing. If he's not changing, then he's free to continue with the plan as was approved.
Can we see that, Richard, that plan? Is there a copy that I could look at and that I could give to the person that is doing it?
I think, Jeff, you just had found the original
Yeah, it's
submittal.
on the Google Drive. I can probably find it pretty quick here.
But I think Chris was going to share it for us.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have the I have the approved plan that was submitted with the extension request.
Can you share that, Rich?
Yeah, let me just.
And I think it's very similar to the plan of that was approved to what he wants to do.
Yeah, it was
Just
definitely, it was
shows a bunch of
definitely a
steps and-
photocopy of this. It's just the color didn't come out.
Yeah,
But, and it does have the description of the pea stone steps going down.
so the
Yeah.
only thing you have to do is just put in like a silt fence area. Because that
Yep.
seems like it's already gone. Yep.
Yeah, so this orange line, that's the silt fence, the erosion protection during construction.
Okay,
So we can have Sophie email you this.
yeah. So what does this mean, that it is extended? So it's still valid and we could go ahead on that basis, or?
Yes, yeah, so just for full disclosure, this was the agenda. And this is the minutes. 141 Hemlock Drive request. Motion was made and seconded, unanimous vote to approve the motion for the extension.
Fantastic, great. Yeah, if somebody could forward that to me, that would be wonderful.
So Sophie, it's on the drive in October 20th, 2021 meeting folder.
All right, I'm just gonna write that down because
Yep.
searching can be a nightmare.
But what does that mean for the thing that's still open, the issue that's still open, or does this take care of that?
Takes care of that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So who would ever close that then?
So when you're done, it will expire in October.
Okay,
So once you want to complete this project here with the steps this summer, and then just tell us you're done, we'll come out and review it and issue an order of certificate of compliance for the whole project.
wonderful, great. And then I still have a question that happened way back when we had the discussions about the trees that I had taken down. There was an enforcement order issued at that point. Is that going to disappear as well?
And we are still tracking that on the enforcement list as well, violations list.
Yeah. So how do we get that off?
And I don't actually recall the so first off, before we go to that, Jim, and great for you to ask. So when you get the plans, review the plans and confirm, yourself that that's what was originally proposed is what you want to do. And if you have to change it, it should just be as simple as, getting back in touch with Sophie in the office and saying, hey, I want to make this change. Right. And then she'll decide whether it's significant change that needs to come before us or if it's an insignificant change. Right. And
Yep.
then also, again, make certain the erosion control is in place per the original permit, right, that was granted.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 141 Hemlock violation was for removal of trees without permission.
Yeah.
And so I actually think we still have to see the order of conditions for that previous work and see if there were trees that were not permitted. Not that you did, Jim, but the previous person did, because I'm not certain that we have seen that. But I do note that you put in 13 trees, which per my notes and count is more than the stumps that I had noted had been taken out, or showed evidence of trees that had been taken out. So I would be in favor actually of closing out that violation. based on what Jenny and Sophie just brought before us. I would be looking to the other commissioners to advise there or ask questions.
Yeah, I'll second that. We can close that up.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a motion by Jeff to close out the violation notice on 141 Hemlock Drive. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, yeah, I thought you would motion, but sure.
I'm try not to motion too often and let you guys do the heavy lifting so that I can count the votes. Roll call vote, Chris,
Aye.
Rich,
All right.
Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that'll remove that violation notice, Jim.
Thank you so much. Yep.
And thank you. Thanks for your patience with us.
Yeah, no, thank you and appreciate it. And I'll be in contact with Sophia then.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay then. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
We've got a half an hour, so we will move along to administrative determinations. Sophia, 91 Lancaster Ave and 99 Lancaster Ave tree removal. I think you said that you had not had an opportunity to get out to those sites.
That's correct.
Okay, so we would have to continue those to 6/5. Did we have property owners here from those parcels? I don't see anybody jumping up and down, so I'm going to assume the people that are still hanging out with us have other business. Certificates of compliance. I see one for 255 Prospect Street. Have you been out to visit that one?
So this one was actually denied the last at the last meeting. We're just waiting on the large patch of bare soil to be established.
Oh, okay, okay. So that one is probably going to be another couple of weeks. Because I think they were going to call you when the grass was established, right?
Right.
Okay. And then 190 Electric Ave Solar.
Yeah, this one, there should be a COC issued for this.
Okay, so your recommendation is to issue a COC for that one?
That's correct.
Okay. Do we have any questions, comments from members of the commission? Okay, I think I'm looking for a motion to approve that certificate of compliance for 190 Electric Ave.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Roll call vote. Jenny,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Rich,
All right.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. That's approved. And then moving along to the violations, enforcement actions and hearings. We just got 141 marked off the list. Do we have any updates on or any of the other ones that we need to talk about, Sophie?
It's no update on 10 Mass Ave. Other than they did reach out. I followed up to make sure they didn't have any questions or they needed any guidance to file.
Mhm.
I haven't heard back after giving them direction.
Okay, and I don't think we've had any updates on the 205 Sunset Lane either. Okay, any of the other ones?
40 Firewood 12. I believe they were sent a letter stating just a reminder that their deadline is coming up. The letter was sent by Adam Costa.
Okay, very good.
Sorry, this is Scott. I'm here about Fire Road 12. And I did not get a letter, and I don't know what's coming up on my behalf.
Okay. And thank you, Scott, for speaking up. Um, so, as I understand the situation, and Sophie, keep me honest. 40 Fire Road 12, there had been an encroachment into town land, paving across the road. And and this is before my time, so I have all this kind of passed down to me. As that was being addressed, the other thing that had been identified was the paving was done within the buffer zones to the wetland, and a NOI getting permission to take up the pavement had actually been issued, but the work's not yet been completed, and the NOI is close to expiring. And so the town attorney was going to send a letter to, and I assume you were one of the applicants or a co-applicant on that NOI, as a reminder that the NOI is expiring, and therefore the work needs to go ahead and proceed to remove that payment per the pre-existing NOI.
Yeah, all this is new information to me, to be perfectly honest, right? This was brought up 3 years ago, I believe, at the conservation, and then it was passed on to the town. And in the past 3 years, me nor my neighbor have heard absolutely nothing from the town. So the fact that there is something that's expiring and coming up is news to both me and him. I talked to him today.
Okay, and so what you're saying is that you were not an applicant on the notice of intent to remove the pavement?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But I have not received anything in the mail.
Well, just because it's sent doesn't mean that it's gotten there. And I think Sophie was more speaking from the town attorney had said that it had been sent.
Well, if something is expiring that I didn't know about and it's been 3 years, I would expect to have received something in the past 3 years, regardless of when it was
Actually,
sent.
that's not actually how the process works. So when people apply to do work, they're given a permit to do the work, and the permit is a standard 3-year timeline to do the work. And so we don't micromanage them in any way. The reason why this one had come up and the reminder was going out is because the town had the town manager had reached out to the Conservation Commission and asked about the status, because it's also a result of an encroachment on town land. So that's the only reason why we weren't following the, kind of standard laissez-faire kind of approach. Jeff, you had a comment.
Yes, I was just wondering how long Scott's been living there. Maybe that's why he doesn't know much about it.
No, I've been here for 8 years or so.
Oh, okay, so yeah, you should be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair question, Jeff. Thank you. So then, we probably ought to go back and look up that NOI for this property and see actually who submitted it.
Sure. And while we're at it, we're gonna need a new timeline, because something that's expiring soon that I didn't know about, right, is a little I don't know when the expiration is or when it needs to be done by, but we'll need to look at that expiration again with this new information that we have today.
It actually says the applicants were Thomas Wu and Scott Benjamin.
Yeah.
And so the expiration date, it looks like the date of issuance was July 19th, 2021. I'm looking at it on my iPad, or I would share. Yeah, it was issued July 19th, 2021. So then the expiration would be July 19th, 2024. And you can contact, if you don't have a copy of this, you can contact our office to get a copy of that NOI. And then in order to extend it, I think you would just need to contact Sophie and ask apply for an extension.
Okay.
I'll let any of the commissioners that have been on longer than me add any clarifications about that process. They're a little stronger in process than I am. Oh, I'm not seeing any clarification, so it sounds like I got the nail on the head this time.
All right. Thank you.
And thanks for showing up tonight, Scott, and for hanging out with us as long as you had to hang out to get to this piece of business. I appreciate it.
What should my neighbor be doing here? Because he's not on this list, and so he's kind of in the dark because he didn't get any. I actually haven't gotten anything from about this meeting, so he's more in the dark than I am. He was pretty surprised when I talked to him tonight.
Well, what's your neighbor's address?
I don't know.
I don't know, not having been first person on this, I don't know if your neighbor was considered an encroacher and therefore part of this or not.
Well, you did just read off the applicant, right? And it's with me and him, so.
Okay, so it's Thomas Wu.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm just surprised that only my address appeared here now.
Yeah, your address was the only one in the form. Project location, Fire Road 12.
Maybe because you can't have two addresses. I don't know. But yeah, he's as in the dark or more in the dark than I am about this expiration. So.
Well, so then it would make the most sense, maybe for you to let him know that he can contact the office and get this documentation as well, or that you, can, because Sophie can send it to you via soft copy, right? And if you email her and ask for it and then copy your neighbor, then he will get it as well.
I don't know his email address.
Okay.
Is it possible to send him a paper copy? Right. I mean, I have a more than a full-time job, right? And I'm traveling in a week, so I don't have time to micromanage him.
Yeah. No. So Sophie, can you let's see who the contact information is on there.
Go
ahead, Jenny.
On the cease and desist letter from October of 2020. It has both of their addresses there. So it has Mr. Thomas Gordon Wu at 44 Fire Road 12, and then Mr. Scott Benjamin at 40 Fire Road 12.
Oh, okay.
And that's in the Google Drive. And it's no trespass notice, Fire Road 12 is what it's called.
Okay. So then, Sophie, can you just reach out to the town attorney and make certain he is actually aware that he's contacted two different parcel owners and ensure that he's reaching out. I mean, I would think an attorney would be referring back to his original documentation, but just make certain that's not something that gets lost in the translation and the passage of time.
Yeah, I'll make sure that they have both on there.
Well, and it's two letters to two different parcel owners. I think that's the thing I want to make certain that is clear. It's not one letter to co-owners of a parcel.
Okay.
I think that's the thing that I misunderstood in looking at the application. Okay, Scott, that'll ensure that he gets the letter as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yep, thank you. Okay, Sophie, any other updates on violations?
There was the Lane property bike trails. I haven't personally been out there, but I know there were pictures shared with the commission on that.
Yeah, and Bob has been out there, and since he's out, I think we'll just table that to when he's here and can support the call.
I don't have anything else.
And I think Bob is also working with the people that had made those trails, and working with them to get a application, a request, retroactive, but still a request for permission on those trails as well.
I spoke with them also.
Okay. Did you have anything else to add, Chris?
Only that the person had reached out to Bob several times, and Bob didn't reply, so he assumed that meant like, okay, no news is good news, and he proceeded. And Bob was like, that's my bad. Yeah. So oops. So anyways, yeah, he jumped the gun on the trail.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for that. So with that, we'll move along to new business. Bob had sponsored the Beaver Deceiver conversation for the Cowdrey. I know he's been working with Beaver Management to get some Beaver Deceivers actually installed down at the this is the access road that comes in off of Townsend Harbor Road into the Cowdrey, in a specific area, the Cowdrey Conservation Area, that provides access to the Harold Harley Wildlife Viewing Area. It's currently well flooded by the beaver activity, but I'll let him come in and talk about that. I know he'll be coming in asking for a vote to approve some money, but he's been working with the consultant. Is there any other topics? I don't have any other topics that have come up in the last 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, I had talked to Bob about those properties behind off of Flat Hill, the ones that are for sale by Ferrara. So I'm going to reach out to the owner that's got those for sale and just have an initial discussion with them. Because we're entertaining acquiring that property.
Okay, cool. I'm also aware that Bob's been trying to get some type of confirmation from the town, and these are properties that are in proximity to the Fairbanks gift area down behind Flat Hill Orchards and Connie Allison's property. But Bob had been talking to the town to try to assess whether the town was interested in one of those properties as in a contingency for managing the water on Flat Hill Road as well. But I've not heard that he's been successful in getting any feedback from the town on that either. There's a typo in this agenda, the encroachment. Oh no, it's not a typo. It's encroachment issues. Those are separate. I don't think we have any updates on encroachment issues. Bob was the sponsor for the title searches, so we'll delay that until Bob's available. I don't have any updates on grants, no updates on conservation land improvements. And I don't have any updates. I'm just going through, no updates. Mike usually gives us updates on Hollis Road, and he's away. Committee reports, open space didn't meet last week due to lack of quorum. Any updates from stormwater, Jenny?
No, we haven't had a meeting since our last conservation meeting. We meet
Okay.
next week.
Very good. And Sophie, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, going back to the encroachment issues, I believe it's 315 Lancaster Ave.
Yeah.
The owner, they reached out to me and told me that the shed was in fact removed. However, I didn't have a chance to actually go and physically confirm.
Oh, okay.
But they did let us know on Monday that it was done.
Oh, that's optimistic. So maybe by the next time we meet, you can give us a happy confirmation. That would be excellent. Thanks for that update.
Yep. And then the other thing is, I believe it would fall under the property maintenance section. Stephanie and I had ordered the ground mustard for the jumping worms on the property, so that's sitting in the office now.
Does anybody know when Mike is back in town? I didn't catch when he was back. I know he was on international travel. Maybe what I'll do is reach out to the pollinator habitat, to Jenny Albertson, and let her know that the ground mustard has arrived. Then they could go ahead and pick that up, maybe.
Where do we have issues with that again? I forgot. I know
The
we talked.
pollinator habitat.
Is there a certain area in town? Or is
Yeah,
it just-
the pollinator habitat.
Oh, that's an area in town? Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the Hawes Conservation Area up off of Hollis Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'll be surprised if everybody in town doesn't have a problem with that, to be honest with you. I've noticed in the past couple of years that when it rains, I get pounds. I mean, like literally pounds of worms in my pool. And I think it's because the local worm population has been turning over to jumping worms.
I had the same problem in my pool, but I never associated it to jumping worms.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Any closing comments from members of the commission? Any closing comments from members of the public? We have no members of the public on. So I think I'm looking for, it's 9:51 p.m. I think I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Chris and Jenny. Roll call vote, Jeff,
Aye.
Jenny,
aye.
Rich,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
and I for myself. Good night, everybody.
Good night.